What is going on, everybody? It is your boy SK, and we got a lot to talk about tonight before we get to this Thursday night game between the Cowboys and the Giants. And we're talking about a 3-0 football team in the Minnesota Vikings, but we'll get to it right after this. What is going on, everybody? Welcome in. I know a few of you guys are over on the GG Sports podcast right now, so I'll give it a couple minutes for you guys hop in. But how we feeling, man? We're a 3-0 football team, man. 3-0 football team. Who would have thought it? Before we started this season, we're looking at the first 5 to 6 games, maybe 7 games. Said this is the hardest stretch of this schedule. If we can make it through the first 5 games, 2 and 3, we'll have a chance at the playoffs. Well, look at us now. And quite arguably the toughest part of the Minnesota Vikings schedule. We are 3-0. Obviously handling the New York Giants, which I don't think anybody was necessarily surprised about. But then you welcome the 49ers into town and you handle business. And if anybody watched that game, and excuse me, I'm doing a little bit of a recap here because I was in Minnesota for that San Francisco game. I ended up catching COVID. I was out last week. I mean, I was down and I was out. I was down and out, y'all. But I bounced back. I wasn't able to get a show in last week because I was feeling that way. But excuse me for the recap, man. Since I was out there for the San Francisco game, if you watch that game against the 49ers, we handled them. The score does not dictate what we did to those 49ers. And I'm not going to spend too much time on that game. But we handled them. And that wasn't this banged up 49ers team that we're seeing 2 weeks later. That was only without Christian McCaffrey. I don't want to hear about anybody else. I don't want to hear about, oh, well, Debo was out the last possession of the game. Kittle went out for a couple series. I don't want to hear it. Because you know what? The very next week, this last week, we welcomed the Houston Texans into town. And that's a team a lot of people had in the AFC Championship game, and some had them in the Super Bowl. And rightfully so. They looked really good last year with a young quarterback in CJ Stroud. They got plenty of weapons all over the field. Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, who's leading the league in receiving, I believe, still. You got Tank Dell. You got Dalton Schultz. No Joe Mixon against us. I'll give him that. But we didn't have Ivan Pace. We didn't have our starting linebacker, our dog. So I don't want to hear nothing about injuries against the Texans either. Because that's a very talented defense and a very talented offense. And guess what? We ran through both sides of the ball. Whether it was our offense doing what we're doing against that Houston defense, or whether it was this defense getting after it, like it seems like we always do. It doesn't matter who we're playing. Because before this 49ers and before this Texans game, we're being laughed at. Sam Darnold, the Minnesota Vikings. There's no way in hell. Well, guess what? We're 3-0. And we're feeling good. And how are y'all feeling? I see I got some people in here. Vikings Rob, welcome in, my guy Vikings Rob. I appreciate the opportunity to DJ for you at the tailgate. That was fun. My guy Vocal Vike Rap tapping in with us as always. Appreciate you, my guy. It's my brother right there. SKOL'd State of Mind, what's going on, my guy? You're up the street from me. We still haven't got no show together. We got to make that happen, man. JJ, welcome in, JJ. What's up, nephew? Always finds a way to tap in. You guys ready for this Thursday night game tonight? Should be a pretty good one. I think the Cowboys are about to put it on these Giants, though. Bandito, what's going on? F the pack. That's right. Zero mercy. That's how we coming. My guy Adam, man. My guy Adam. He took a shoey for us after that Niners Vikings game. I'm gonna throw you under the bus here, Adam. Adam's a 49ers fan, y'all. But we stall him out because he's a supporter of us. So we stall it out. That's our boy. That's still our boy. So how was the shoey? We had Adam do a shot out of his shoe after the 49er game. Him and Papa Gary had a little bet, and I guess loser had to take a shoey. And Adam was a loser. Adam was already tore up, y'all. He shouldn't have done it. He shouldn't have done it. What's up, Skull for Life Barber, man? Pleasure meeting you at Skull Fest. Hey, real quick about Skull Fest too. We will be dropping this video soon, man. We're in the final stages of editing it, and putting it together. It's gonna be fire. It's gonna be fire. So be on the lookout for that. We're gonna release the whole video on Rap's channel, Vocal Vike. And then obviously, we'll be posting clips and stuff on here, on Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Over on Facebook as well. But appreciate meeting you, man. You and the wife. So welcome in. Adam said, great shot. Have you seen the video? If not, I have the video, Adam. That's how drunk you were. You didn't realize I was videotaping too. And I was sitting right in front of you. So big shout out to you guys, man. Thank you for tapping in. Go ahead and throw your comments, your questions in the comment box here. Your score prediction for the game, prediction for the season. I'll be sure to go over those. Usually when I do these solo shows by myself, I tend to rely on a lot of you guys' comments as well. So I'm going to go back and get to those as well. But what the main kind of rift of what I wanted to do with this show is the Minnesota Vikings, and are they front runners? I mean, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. And I may be reaching to try and find something wrong with this team or whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate today. I love this team. I love the way they're playing. I love the attitude. I love the aggressiveness. I love it all. But we've only been down in a game, I think, just over 3 minutes this entire season. That was against the Giants. That was that early turnover to CJ Ham. And New York went down, and they got a field goal out of it. I mean, I think they drove maybe 10 yards and kicked the field goal and got their points. That's been the only period of time this season that the Minnesota Vikings have been down in a game, was that following possession. Sam Darnold ended up driving the team down the field, and I believe we got 6 on that. But we haven't experienced a game where we got to come from behind. There's some type of adversity. We've been leading in all these games, regardless of the talent that we played against, regardless of the, how good of the team that we played. We've handled these teams, and that's nothing to be skeptical about. It's legit. This isn't a phony 3-0. This isn't a phony, oh, well, they just got big leads against these teams and then they just kind of rode it out the rest of the way. No, these are legitimate wins. These are legitimate reasons why we go up early in these games, because we're a good fucking team. And I know it's hard for a lot of people to understand that and to grasp that, and it's okay. It's okay for the Minnesota Vikings to have a goddamn good team in 2024, and it's not out of the realm. I know a lot of our expectations had dropped before this season started, but let's be real. I think we all understood we have talent on this team. We had talent on this team before we went through free agency last year and picked up the bodies we picked up. Though those free agency pickups have shown that they have obviously added extreme value to this team. And it's hard to pick a player of where to start because it seems like every game it's somebody different. First game was Van Ginkel. Had a sack, had his pick 6, had his moment in week 1. Week 2, I would say probably Patrick Jones. You could pick some other guys in that week 2 matchup that we played great. It's a good problem to have. And then this past week, week 3, it was Jonathan Grenard. Played out of his mind. 3 sacks against his former team. So this isn't a team that's just getting this production out of 1 or 2 players. This is a team that you don't know who's going to show up week in and week out. That's hard to scheme against if you're an offensive mind. It's extremely hard to coach against. You know, you don't know where it's. We haven't even talked about Harrison Smith the way we should have been talking about Harrison Smith yet. He's having an outstanding start to his 2024 season. But there's been guys that have splashed or have had major splashes in these first 3 games where we're not even talking about the guys that are playing extremely well. Let's talk about Harrison Phillips. He's had the best start to a season in his career, in my opinion. Not saying a lot because Harrison Phillips is a really good player. He always has been. It may not always show up on the stat sheet, but Harrison Phillips is balling right now. Blake Cashman. I didn't even bring him up yet. I didn't even get to our secondary. Stephon Gilmore, what a pickup. What a freaking pickup. Shaq Griffin is playing great right now. Byron Murphy, so-so. He may be our weak link, quote unquote, right now on the defense. But if Byron Murphy's my weak link, I'm cool with that. I'm cool. Not to mention Josh Metellus and Cam Bynum, them doing their thing on the back end. This defense is legit. This 3-0 team is legit. But the question I have is, are we front runners? I need to see us in a tight situation. I do. And it's going to happen, whether it be this week or the next week or weeks down the line. It's going to happen eventually. That doesn't necessarily say we're going to go out there and lose the game. But eventually, one of these games is going to be real tight, and we're going to have to come from behind. And we're not going to get as fast of a start that we've been getting in these first 3 games, or 2 out of 3 games. I wouldn't necessarily say that the Giants game was necessarily a fast start. Fumble the ball on the first possession. Giants go down and go up. Then we finally kind of catch our rhythm. So I wouldn't say that's a fast start. But there's going to be a game where you say, oh, shit. They came out. They came out hot. We turned the ball over in the first 2 possessions. We're down 10-0. We're down 14-0. We got to find our footing. We got to get together. That's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And if you're asking me, the sooner the better. I need to find out. Now, every week this team has been answering a different question for me. Going into the 49er game, obviously, we beat the Giants. I think a lot of us were expecting us to beat the Giants. So we go into that San Francisco game, and my question was, can we hang with possibly the best team in the league, if not the best team in the NFC? Yes, they're coming to our house, but this is the standard in the NFC. This is what you aim for in the NFC. Where are we at compared to them? We may not win the game necessarily, but I want to see how we play against one of the top teams in the league. Well, they answer my question. A whole lot better than what I thought we'd be. Now, I know I wasn't the only one that was surprised, but they answered that question. They came out, they balled, they put their foot on the neck of the 49ers, and the score should have been worse than what it was. Now, after that game, my question going into Houston is, okay, well, as we as Vikings fans, we know we get a big emotional win against a really good team. We get those from time to time. But the following week, we always come out flat. We don't look good. And we usually lose that game. If we don't lose, we struggle against a really bad team and we squeak one out. So my question was, how are we going to answer? How is this team going to respond after being victorious to the team in the NFC? And they answered that question. They went out against the Houston Texans, a very talented young team, and they whooped their ass up and down the field. Question answered. Respect us. And to be honest with you, I don't think this team is getting enough respect. I don't think they're not getting the respect that they properly deserve. And I understand we're only 3 games in, and it's extremely early in the season, and a lot more shit can happen as this season goes on. But we gotta look with what we got. These first 3 weeks, the Minnesota Vikings are the best team in the league, if not the best, the second best. They're up there. And for them to be dogs going into Green Bay, a team that lost to Philly, which look, if you listen to me or watch me on any other podcast or on this one, I'm not a big Philly guy. I don't think Philly's that great of a team. They're very choppy. They just find ways to win. They're just one of those franchises that it's going to look ugly, but they're going to find a way to win. So I'm not going to completely hold that game against the Green Bay Packers. But again, lost in a very ugly game where Philadelphia struggled, but they still came out on top. I believe they played the Colts, which I'll tell you right now, the Colts are bad. The Colts are bad. And then you go and you play the Tennessee Titans, who are worse than the Colts. Will Levis is just throwing games away. And they squeak both. Well, I'm not going to say squeak the last one out. They pulled away from the Tennessee Titans, but they squeaked one out against the Colts. I'm not impressed with Green Bay. For us to be 3-point underdogs or 2.5-point underdogs going into Green Bay, I understand it's a away game and this and this and that. But what we've shown these first 3 weeks and what we've seen with Green Bay, it shouldn't be a 3-point spread in this game. It shouldn't. But you know what? It is. And you know what else? We like it that way. We like it that way. Continue to count us out. Continue to label us the underdog. Continue to expect us to lose. Because guess what? This is where the Minnesota Vikings are at their best. When they're counted out, when they're not expected to win, when they're underdogs. And I will take that all the way to the goddamn playoffs. I'll take it. I will take it. Just win. I'm going to take one from the Raiders. Just win, baby. But to answer my question, this is my question going into this week. And can this team answer it this week? Which I think there's a real possibility that this could be one of those games where it's tight and the Minnesota Vikings got to find out a way to win on the road. It's going to be a tough game. But hopefully we get an answer to my question. Are the Minnesota Vikings front runners? We could possibly find that out after this week against the Packers. So I'm excited for that one. I know you guys are too. But one of the main reasons outside of Sam Darnold and this defense playing so well, outside of them, what makes this team this good right now and what has us 3-0 right now is your head coach. And yes, I can sit here, I can blab about how great Brian Flores is, and I wouldn't be lying. I could sit here for hour, 2 hours blabbing about how good Flores is and how good that scheme is and how crazy and wild it is to play against. But let's start at the top. Let's look at KOC. And I got to give KOC credit here. When he first came in, he's a first-time head coach. There's going to be plenty of learning experiences for this guy. And there was times in those first 2 seasons where I scratched my head a couple times like, what was that play call? What are we doing here? What's, game time, decisions of certain things. I wasn't necessarily a fan of. Now, I've seen a shift in the way KOC is kind of carrying himself, and it's bleeding out to this team. And it's exactly how this team carries themselves now, and I love it. I love every single bit of it. KLC's got some attitude, and he's very aggressive. And I'm not just talking about his play calling, because his play calling has got extremely aggressive, and I love it. It's balls to the wall. We have nothing to lose. Let's try it. Let's do it. You guys want to do it? Let's do it. So if you look back at all 3 games, we've had a trick play in pretty much all 3. If I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to think of the Giants game. if I could go back and possibly remember a flea flicker or something that we had. But San Francisco, a lot of you may not have noticed that during that last Sam Darnold drive, we had a run pass option for Ty Chandler once we got down to that end zone that possibly could have had Johnny Munt wide open for a touchdown if he didn't get held, which Kelsey went back and he mentioned in his presser that, hey, look, the refs are supposed to be looking for this. I probably should have let them know ahead of time what I was running so they were aware, but there was a pass interference downfield. And if he didn't grab Johnny Munt, that would have been a touchdown. That would have been a Ty Chandler touchdown pass to Johnny Munt. And who had that bingo card? But nonetheless, that's part of the aggressiveness that I'm talking about. You're calling that type of play in that situation. And if Ty Chandler lines up and throws a pick on that play, we hate it. KOC's a terrible coach. This is the worst thing ever. If he completes it, he's the most amazing coach ever. KOC is the guy. But luckily, Ty Chandler was smart enough to just tuck it, take the 1 yard gain, went out of bounds. So be it. Live to play another game or live to play another play. Now, last week, we had the reverse flea flicker, which it was very, very sloppy. I don't feel like there was enough room between the players. It was just too crammed and close to each other. And luckily, we ended up getting a pass interference downfield that put us at the 1 yard line. And I believe on that possession, that was the Jalen Naylor touchdown catch, if I'm not mistaken. So KOC is being aggressive with his play calling, but I love the aggression he's showing off the field. And I touched on this on my Purple Parlor podcast with Rap and Realistic Randy. And this is something that I've loved out of KOC. And I've noticed this from KOC this season. And it's something that we've needed for a long time as Minnesota Vikings fans. We've lacked it, definitely. Not the talent, but we've lacked the attitude. So I don't think this was a presser. I think this was an actual interview. It may be Will Regatz or somebody else that did the interview. But if you guys remember back to preseason, we played the Cleveland Browns. We had joint practices with the Cleveland Browns. And there was reports out of KLC stopping practice and said, hey, talking to Schwartz, the Cleveland defensive coordinator, said, hey, man, you can't be so aggressive, blah, 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 blah. Well, KLC, that he took that to heart. And this is what he had to say. One of the reasons I got so upset in Cleveland was I knew our players would be reading that. I told Schwartz he was being too physical, O'Connell said. That couldn't have been further from the truth. O'Connell was preaching toughness to his players, ripping them in the hotel that night and saying, we better show up tomorrow and be a lot more physical if we want to be what we say we are. And hated that he sounded weak to them on social media. That's a guy that pays attention. That's a guy that's self-aware. That's a guy that says, whoa, wait a minute. There's some context. I didn't just go up to Sword and say, oh, we need to stop being physical. I'm pissed at my team. My team needs to get their shit together. He's holding guys accountable. We didn't get that before. We didn't. We didn't get that before. And it's needed. 100% needed. He goes on to say, I could have been the guy seeking comfort in all the excuses. And he's referring back to last season. But I wanted to make sure that regardless of anything, I could build a team that can sustain and win in this league based upon the core values of when you play against us. You will feel it. You better buckle up, because if you don't, we're going to beat you with a lot more than passing concepts and trick them up defenses and schemes by flow. We want to be able to put the pin down and say, we're running right at you on second down against the Giants in the red zone, and we're going to walk the ball in the end zone. That's what you want to hear out of your head coach. That's a guy that has extreme confidence in his football team to do that to other teams. When's the last time you felt this way about a Minnesota Vikings team to where we're just more physical than you? We're going to punch you in the mouth, and there's nothing you could do about it. When's the last time you felt that way about a Minnesota Vikings football team? It's been a long time. And you can't even say that about the Mike Zimmer football teams. You can't, because we didn't have that attitude. Now, Everson Griffin may be an exception to the rule there. He was our crazy guy of the team, and we loved him for it. But when it came down to an attitude, to a swagger, to the way you carry yourself on the football team, we didn't have that with the Zimmer-led team, whether that be offense or defense. We had guys that were playing in their spots, that were playing great in their spots. It was more we're just scheming it up. We're getting stops. We're getting off the field. That was our goal. But the goal of this team and the goal of this defense is different. It's, I'm going to punch you in the mouth, and I'm going to keep punching you in the mouth. And you're going to feel it as this game goes on. We're going to wear on you. We're going to force you to force it. And that's exactly what we're doing so far through the first 3 weeks. And then Justin Jefferson goes on to say, talking about Kevin O'Connell, sometimes you got to let that dark side out. We definitely see it sometimes with KO. Not very often, but when that dark side comes out, we all know what time it is. KLC laughed at Friday's Zoom call ended. This is a layer to me I feel our fans need to know about. He said, just so they know I got it in me. Well, we know. We know, KO. We know you got it in you. And that's what you want. You want that confidence. You want that swagger. That's motivational as a team. If your coach carries himself in that way, and it's respectful, it's not him talking shit about other teams. It's saying, you know what? We're going to do our thing. We're the bullies, not you. Because I can't stand, and this was our problem year in and year out, is yes, we have plenty of talent. Plenty of talent. But our weakness was we always got bullied. We were never the bully until now. Until now. So you ask me, is this sustainable? Is Sam Darnold playing the way he's playing sustainable? Is this defense doing what they're doing sustainable? My answer is yes. Because it starts at the top. I have a guy coaching my football team that I have extreme confidence in. That's going to carry this team to heights that we may have never been before. So I'm ready. Sign me up. I'll run through a brick wall for KO at this point. So again, if you ask me if it's sustainable for this team to keep playing the way they're playing, absolutely. Defense travels. Coaching matters. And it shows because the Minnesota Vikings had the best coaching staff in the league from top to bottom. Offense, defense, wide receivers coach, quarterbacks coach. We're the real deal. So let's sit back and let's enjoy it as Minnesota Vikings fans. I don't know how long it's going to last. I think it's sustainable. I think this team can be very good and make a deep playoff run this year. The NFC's wide open. There's no one team in the NFC that I feel is better than the Minnesota Vikings right now. That's just me being real. It's not the 49ers. Seahawks are 3-0. Seahawks aren't as good as the Minnesota Vikings. Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles are good. They're rough. They're rugged. They're going to make it ugly. The Eagles aren't as good as the Vikings right now. And things could change. We could be sitting here 5 weeks from now, and a lot has shifted. And we're sitting there, okay, well, we got to get our shit together. We haven't been looking good these past few weeks. But right now, 3 weeks in, the Minnesota Vikings are the best team in the NFC. I don't see anyone beating them right now. I'm sorry. Call me biased. Call me what you will. I don't see anybody beating this Vikings team the way we're playing right now on the offensive side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball, on special teams. No one's beating us right now. But can we do it consistently? Can we sustain this success? Yes. Will we? I don't know. I don't know. But I'm extremely confident. And it starts at the top with KOC. I'm extremely confident in this coaching staff. I'm confident in these players. So we shall see, man. This week's another big test against the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau, which is always a tough place to play. It's divisional rival, our biggest rival. You already know what you got to do. We got to come in with the attitude of we're big brother. We're the bully. Y'all aren't going to bully us. It's not going to happen because Green Bay's going to try and run the ball. That's been their big forte today or this year. They're going to run the ball. Can you stop it? And if there was any worry about this defense, that would be it. It's the run defense. It's the run defense. But we've put ourselves in position in these games to where we didn't necessarily have to worry about the run too much. Now, San Francisco, who is the team that will run the ball down your throat. They don't care what the score is. They'll run the ball down your throat. They ran for over 100 yards on us. It's because they stuck with the run. Now, can Green Bay kind of hold our offense back long enough to keep this game close to where they can continue to lean on that run game? That's the question. And that's why this front runner question is somewhat of a legitimate question, because we haven't seen this team in a super close game. And we haven't seen this team to where, okay, we got to get a stop here. We got to slow down their run. We haven't been in that position yet. And I'm excited to see this team in that position because it's only going to make them better down the line. Just because we're front runners right now, that doesn't mean we're not a damn good football team. That means we're building leads early and we're not letting teams catch up. There's nothing wrong with that. But the chances of you doing that for the entire season is very slim. Very slim. The undefeated New England Patriots didn't run through teams every single week. They had their tough games. And I'm not comparing us to those Patriots teams. But it's going to happen. It's going to be a tough game coming up where we got to come from behind. But is it going to be this week? I think it is. So prediction time. I think it is. It's going to be one of those games. It's a divisional game. It's going to be tough. It's going to be close. You're on the road against a far better team than you played on the road in week 1 in the New York Giants. And they run the ball. And they got a very good running back. And it's going to be a close game. They got a good defense too. Got to give them credit there. It's going to be a very close game. If I'm going to play out how this game is going to kind of start off or play out, I'm going to say the Packers get off to a hot start. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say the Packers get off to a hot start. They might jump up to a 7-0 lead, a 10-0 lead, and it's going to force this team and Sam Darnold to say, all right, we're down. Put your big boy pants on. We haven't seen this before yet. Let's do something about it. So I think Green Bay will get off to a hot start, but I think we work our way back into this game, and I have the Vikings winning 23-19. 23-19. Aaron Jones, I think, will go over for 100, 1 or 2 touchdowns. I think he's going to have a good game against his former team. I'm not going to say I'm waiting on it, but we're going to have a bad Sam Darnold game eventually. I hope you guys know that. We're not going to go 17 games with Sam Darnold being an MVP candidate. There's going to be a game or two where he looks like the New York Jets Sam Darnold. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm waiting on it, but I have a really good feeling it's going to happen eventually. I hope it's not against the Packers, because that's a divisional game, and obviously you want to go undefeated in your division. But eventually it's probably going to happen. So don't be surprised if one of these games Sam Darnold goes out there and just stinks it up. Like it's not out of the ordinary here. But the thing is, we have a defense that can make up for that, that can cover that up. We have a run game that can cover that up. We have receivers that can cover that up. So we got a lot to fall back on outside of just our quarterback having a good or bad game. But yeah, I got Minnesota winning this one 23-19 in a very, very close one that they're going to have to come from behind and get it, in my opinion. So, but I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Appreciate you guys tapping in. If you don't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I know a lot of you guys are over there on GG Sports Podcast Pod right now. Hit that subscribe button. Enjoy this Thursday night game, man. I don't have it on, but I think I'm hearing some things. Something's going on over there. Something's going on with this Giants-Cowboys game. So I'm going to get on over and check that out as well. Appreciate you guys for tapping in. Until next Thursday, I'm live every Thursday doing this thing. Make sure to follow or subscribe to Purple Parlor as well. That's a new podcast with myself, Rap and Realistic Randy. We do our thing on Monday nights, so be sure to tap in for that as well. And thank y'all, man. Appreciate the support. Until next time, it is your boy SK. This is Purple and SKOL'd Media. Don't you ever forget it. Hit that subscribe button. Peace.